Many family stories passed down. Where do you begin? Well, the main story is of my grandfather. He was the big influence out of everyone, definitely, because he was a violin player and I play violin. So it's a tradition passed down from him. And his brother was a violin player, and I would imagine it was a family tradition from a long, long, long time. It's a pretty crazy story. In around 1920 or 21, he left Hungary with two friends, and they had no papers, no passport, nothing. He had a violin on his back, and this violin now is in Australia, in Sydney. And he went with his friends and went to Vienna. They walked to Vienna, from Budapest to Vienna, because even though he's from Szolnok, he lived in Budapest. And in Vienna they saw what he described as a Hitler Youth March, early days, so probably I would say he saw Hitler, he saw the early days of what was going to happen. And they fled, and they went to many countries. No country, of course, would want them because they had no passport, no paper, nothing. And the one country that did allow them to live in was France, and the border police said, "We don't care, you can come, you're welcome." And so from then on in, he became very proudly French, became a francophile, a real francophile, to the point that actually in his apartment I remember very distinctly there being French flags on every single lamppost. And he lived in France for about 20 years. And then in the Second World War he was in the French resistance. So he fought for France. And this was a story of always growing up with, and he was very proudly French because of the way he was treated in France. Yeah. My grandfather actually lived in Marseille. That was the city he lived in. He was in Paris also, of course, and other places, but his town where he lived was Marseille. And he played violin in cafe orchestras, and he knew Edith Piaf, and he was good friends with Albert Camus and quite a few other people. I remember him telling me a story that he lived next door to Ravel's grandmother, something like this. Yeah, he knew a lot of people. Grew up hearing sort of names floating about as a kid. Several years ago I was in Berlin. It was really crazy. I was in Wedding, and I was crossing near Gesundbrunnen from west to former east, from Wedding into Prenzlauer Berg to go to see a friend of mine, an Israeli piano player at a small bar. And I had my violin on my back, and I was thinking, this is amazing. I'm crossing in Berlin, I think it was 2014, and it was snowing from West Berlin, Wedding to former East, Prenzlauer Berg, and there's the Alexanderplatz Tower with my violin. And about just less than 100 years ago, my grandfather with a violin on his back was crossing from Budapest to Vienna, and then from Vienna to I don't know where, and eventually to France, where he was with a violin. And that's really something.